while only 4 types of corn are cultivated across all 50 US states. These varieties yield an astonishing 16 products that are part of our daily lives. The US has surpassed China to become the world's top corn producer, with 346.7 million tons in 2023. This is thanks to their advanced farming techniques and machinery. The most familiar type to everyone is probably sweet corn. Renowned for its high sugar content, this imparts a delightful sweetness. Mechanized harvesting is common with 2 main types: self-propelled or tractor-pulled harvesters. Florida, Oregon, and California are the leading producers of sweet corn, collectively harvesting 13.6 tons in 2022. Sweet corn is typically harvested when the kernels are still young and tender. The harvester cuts the portion of the stalk containing the ears, which is subsequently removed by either a harvesting machine or manually. In Florida, sweet corn cultivation spans over 37,000 acres, with the harvest season extending from October to June. However, the exact harvest timing varies among farmers due to differing elevation levels across the state. This influences planting schedules. In some states, hand harvesting remains the preferred method for sweet corn, as it allows for more precise selection of marketable ears. This harvesting method is often practiced in corn farms in Florida, California, and Georgia. Field sorting also reduces the need for culling at the packing house, ensuring a quicker transition to the cooling process. Harvested ears can be transported to packing facilities or packed directly in the field. The sugars and the tenderness of the kernels will begin to reduce once the corn cobs are off the stalk. So, to preserve quality, farmers rapidly cool harvested sweet corn to approximately 32 degrees Fahrenheit immediately after harvest. Hydrocooling, a method that utilizes water to maintain a cold temperature, is commonly employed. This ensures the product freshness for up to 2 weeks. While sweet corn accounts for only 1% of US corn acreage, popcorn reigns supreme as a popular crop. Corn used for popcorn looks skinnier than regular corn, characterized by a hard outer shell and a soft, moist center. Popcorn pops when heated to temperatures between 400 and 460 degrees Fahrenheit. The internal moisture transforms into steam, causing the kernel to expand. In factories, freshly popped popcorn is then seasoned to taste. Popcorn's popularity is undeniable, with over 232 million Americans indulging in this snack in 2020. This translates to approximately 14 billion quarts of popcorn popped and consumed annually. To meet up with this massive demand, popcorn is primarily harvested using combines. These powerful harvesters allow farmers to harvest corn both during the day and night. Equipped with a corn head, the combine strips the ears from the stalks. The ears are then fed into the machine, where the kernels are shelled from the cob and the cobs are ejected. The shelled kernels are then transported to storage bins, where forced air dries them to a moisture level of 14%, ideal for popping. In some cases, popcorn is harvested on the ear using a corn picker, which removes the ears without shelling the kernels. The corn then dries on the cob, and the kernels are subsequently removed. To ensure efficient popping, the kernels are grated to eliminate undersized ones. Nebraska was traditionally the top popcorn producing state, but Indiana outplanted it with over 97,000 acres in 2021. However, popcorn isn't a variety of corn. It belongs to the flint corn or Indian corn family, which comes in multiple colors, shades of red, blue, purple, yellow, and white. While sweet corn and flint corn have their distinct uses, what about the corn that forms the foundation of the Mexican delicacy, tortillas? Welcome to Iowa, the land of flour corn. This state produced 2.3 billion bushels of corn in 2020, about 16.1% of the total US production. Today, the United States is the largest corn producer globally, dedicating roughly 96 million acres to corn cultivation and exporting approximately 38% of the world's total corn exports. Prior to milling, harvested kernels are typically dried in silos to a moisture content of around 15%. These dried kernels undergo a cleaning and grading process, passing through screens and sieves to separate them by size and quality. Subsequently, the clean kernels are ground into a fine powder, using a series of rollers or mills. The resulting ground material is sifted to separate the flour from larger particles and bran. Finally, corn flour is packaged in bags to prevent contamination and maintain freshness. At this Korean corn snack factory, corn flour is steamed and pressed into a long, thin layer. Then a machine will cut it into strips, which are then fried in this auto-turning machine. The fried corn strips are then seasoned with syrups and cooled down for packaging. Corn flour is frequently used as a gluten-free alternative to wheat flour. So far, we've explored corn as a food source. But what about the corn that farmers will plant to produce future crops? That's where seed corn or field corn comes in. As the most widely cultivated corn type in the US, seed corn occupies approximately 90 million acres and is a familiar sight along the American roadways. Hand pickers can never come close to these combine harvesters because they can pass through 10 acres in an hour. This equals roughly around 300,000 ears per hour. The harvested corn is then transported to processing facilities to prepare for the upcoming planting season. One of the most common types of seed corn is dent corn, which gets its name from the dent or dimple that forms on the top of each kernel when it starts drying out. It is primarily used for livestock feed and cornmeal, a staple in southern US cuisine, often used when making grits and hush puppies. For livestock feed, farmers harvest the entire corn plant, including stalks, leaves, and ears. This task would take a lot of time if it was done by hand, so many US farmers only use huge harvesters that can chop down 20 rows of corn at a time. Then they ferment it in silos to create something called corn stalk silage. Corn farmers' income can also come from corn cob mix. Together, these nutritious feeds are valued at $61 a ton and provide essential vitamins and minerals for ruminants like cattle and sheep. Seed corn is also processed for corn oil production. Approximately 2.5 to 3 pounds of corn kernels are required to produce 1 litre of corn oil. The refined oil is filtered and packaged for distribution. Corn oil is an affordable source of healthy fats with high smoke point, meaning it can withstand high temperatures without breaking down or producing harmful components. Besides edible oil, seed corn is also used to produce ethanol, which is a gasoline additive, or as a standalone fuel source. This renewable energy source that reduces greenhouse gas emissions is one of the most significant products industrially produced from corn plants. For those seeking a unique alcoholic experience, corn whiskey, commonly known as bourbon or rye whiskey, is a popular option. The corn is ground into a mash and fermented to produce a fermented liquid. This liquid is then distilled to concentrate the alcohol content. The resulting distillate is aged in oak barrels to impart flavour and colour. Bourbon is a popular choice for cocktails and enjoyed by many whiskey enthusiasts around the world. Can you guess what these farmers are going to harvest? They've been standing here with long ladders since early morning. Bingo! It's cherries. Each person wears a small basket that can hold around 25 pounds of cherries. After filling the small basket, workers go to the collection point, weigh it, and pour the cherries into a larger bin. Each of these bins pays $75 and is often filled up after around 1 hour and 45 minutes of picking. While you might see workers picking very fast, they all have the technique to pick without breaking the branches or bruising the fruit. The picked cherries must still have their stems on to keep them fresh, and farmers must also remove all cherry leaves. After filling a large bin, the picker's tag will be scanned by the manager to record the number of bins harvested. Then, the picking bins are brought outside the cherry farm, washed, and briefly left to cool down before transporting to the packaging facility. Washington is the largest cherry-producing state in the United States, accounting for over 50% of the cherries in the country. Some farms use cherry shakers to harvest faster. The harvesting machine wraps around the trunk and gently shakes the tree in a star shape, rather than just shaking back and forth. This is so all branches are shaken evenly. The cherries fall onto a canvas sheet and are then conveyed into water tanks with a capacity of 1,000 pounds of cherries to keep them fresh. Did you know that August is the month for super sweet cantaloupes? At the beginning of the season, cantaloupes aren't fully ripe yet, so farmers go into the fields with bags and carefully pick the sweetest ones. At another farm, farmers harvest them into small crates on a large truck. These early season cantaloupes are usually sold at local farmers markets because of their limited quantity and less than perfect sweetness. A few weeks later, usually in August, the main harvest begins. Farms hire more workers and use machinery to ensure that ripe cantaloupes are packaged promptly. Workers use small knives to cut the vines and pick each cantaloupe individually. The cantaloupes are then tossed into the receiving chutes and bounce onto a conveyor belt, which carries them to the harvesting machine. Some farms that sell locally have packaging lines right in the fields. Packers sort through the cantaloupes by size and carefully place each one into a box. Every cantaloupe and box is labelled with a mandatory code for traceability. Farms in California, the biggest cantaloupe producing state, will package cantaloupes in a packing facility because they distribute nationwide. Planted in early March, cantaloupe seeds take approximately 90 days to mature. Multi-generational American cantaloupe farms, such as this 111-year-old farm, have refined cultivation and harvesting methods, resulting in exceptionally sweet, golden cantaloupes with nearly double the sugar content of ordinary ones. All crates of cantaloupes are stored in cold storage at a temperature of 36 to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. This extends their shelf life to over 3 weeks. Pumpkins have become one of the most iconic symbols of autumn because early September is the pumpkin harvest season. Teams of 20 to 30 farmers work together in the fields, inspecting each pumpkin and cutting the stem with large shears. Pumpkins ready for harvest are lined up in a straight row, getting ready for the main harvest day. Pumpkins can ripen and turn orange even after the stem is cut, so farmers will harvest them as well. They harvest around 20,000 pumpkins each day. Each pumpkin can weigh up to 50 pounds, so these farmers must have felt like they're going to the gym. To increase efficiency, many large farms have started using pumpkin harvesting machines. These machines can harvest 4 rows of pumpkins at once. Qualifying pumpkins are stored in a warehouse at temperatures of 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 to 14 days. This allows the skin to harden and the cut on the stem to heal. After that, they are washed thoroughly. Then they are taken to pumpkin patches for people to buy as Halloween approaches. In fact, pumpkins can be stored for up to a year. The rotten pumpkins left in the field are lined up by a machine. Then another grinding machine goes through each row to grind the pumpkins into fertilizer and collect the seeds for the following season. Farewell to the orange pumpkin fields. Say hello to Iowa's golden cornfields. For large-scale seed corn production, corn is harvested by a machine. This harvesting machine can cover 6 acres per hour, which is equivalent to about 900 bushels per hour. Did you know that these cornfields are also home to many wild pigs? Keeping an eye out for wild pigs damaging the cornfield is also one of the important tasks during the corn harvest season. During the pig season, large farms in the US have several harvesters running at the same time. They integrate cutting, husking, and gathering functions, significantly increasing efficiency. The United States remains the world's largest corn exporter, with major markets including Mexico, China, and Japan. Now let's visit the sweet corn fields. For small-scale sweet corn farms and fresh sweet corn, manual harvesting is still a common practice. Over 120 workers are hired to harvest this 300-acre cornfield during peak season, and they are paid around $15 an hour. Harvesting is done at night if it's too hot during the day. Iowa is the state that produces the most corn in the US, with 90% of its agricultural land dedicated to cultivating this crop. Are you a fan of pickles? Pickling cucumbers are typically harvested 50 to 60 days after planting. In the US, it takes about 100 workers to efficiently harvest 1 acre. These workers may need to harvest cucumbers twice a day for 25 to 30 days, depending on the variety and growing conditions. Workers often wear gloves during the manual harvesting process. Each worker can harvest about 1 to 1.5 tons per day. On large cucumber farms, such as those in Michigan and Florida, mechanical harvesters can harvest up to 3 acres of cucumbers per hour. Average yields in open fields in the US can reach around 3 to 15 tons per acre. These harvesters can effectively remove leaves and vines while gently detaching the fruit from the plant. Farmers here have to resort to harvesting machines because they produce up to 450 million pounds of cucumbers annually, accounting for 63% of the US cucumber production. Some mechanical harvesters incorporate sorting mechanisms that can separate cucumbers based on size, colour, and other quality factors. They can also return bad cucumbers for decomposing. This is what happens in a cabbage field on harvest day. As they harvest, the workers cut off the outer leaves and place the cabbage on a conveyor belt. In 2022, the US produced 22 million tonnes of cabbage, and California accounted for 7.1 million. But many big commercial farms have turned to modern harvesters in recent years. This is a green cabbage harvesting machine. It requires 3 workers to cut the leaves and arrange them in wooden crates. Not only do these machines save labour and manpower, but they also have foam pads to protect the cabbage from bruising and damage. This purple cabbage farm only needs 2 harvesters because they use a more modern harvesting machine that cuts the leaves cleaner.